Too bad she's not in Gaza.
They think, man, if we had you in Gaza, then we'd murder you.
Yeah, just like they're murdering everyone else in Gaza, intentionally.
So, I mean, it's a confession wrapped in a death threat.
One person calls me a whore, followed with, pretty clear we need to unalive you.
Okay, so, I mean, again, Israeli flag, we need to unalive you. And when Israelis make that threat, since their government is filled with psychopathic killers, it's a super serious threat. Okay, are you gonna cover this, Elise Stefanik? Congress, are you gonna do anything about this? Mainstream media, are you gonna do a single thing about it? No, but God forbid that the feelings of Dana Bash or Jake Tapper be slightly insulted by criticism of Israel, a foreign country.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, I want to begin with something personal and kind of get it out of the way, kind of send a message about who I am, what works with me and what doesn't work with me. And one thing that I can be very clear about is attempts to intimidate me don't work. So let's talk about what I mean. Over the weekend, I noticed that I have become a target of one of these pro-Israeli groups. It's a shadowy group, doesn't disclose who it's funded by and what they're really about. It's called Canary Mission. Canary Mission happens to be one of those pro-Israel groups that has targeted all sorts of pro-Palestine, pro-peace students at universities like Columbia, Harvard, Tufts. Think Mahmoud Khalil. Unfortunately, he became one of the targets of Canary Mission. So did Rumiesa Ozturk, who simply co-wrote, I should say, an op-ed for her student newspaper at Tufts University, calling for the divestment of Israeli companies because of the ongoing genocide in Gaza. So typically, they engage in these targeting campaigns, and typically these targeting campaigns work. In fact, the individuals that I just spoke about spent time behind bars because of what Canary Mission does. They have a website, essentially doxing anybody who's been critical of Israel. And I think that they're particularly gross. If you go on their website, they also target other organizations, and news organizations are included in there, including Students for Justice in Palestine, Students United for Palestinian Equal Rights, ooh, can't have that. Jewish Voice for Peace is also a target of the Canary Mission. AJ Plus, Al Jazeera English, Al Jazeera Media Network. Anyone simply associated or part of the BDS movement is also a target. You'll go on their website and they list people's identity, and even though no one's committed any crimes, no one's done anything wrong, most of these people haven't even said a single thing that's pro-Hamas or anti-Semitic, doesn't matter. The mere fact that these people have been critical of Israel's genocide and slaughter campaign in Gaza and the West Bank, by the way, becomes a target. So I'm one of their targets, and I welcome their hatred because I think what they do is disgusting. I think what they provide cover for will go down in history as one of the worst genocides in human history. And I live in the United States of America. I'm an American. I'm proud to be an American. I'm not an Israeli. There's no law on the books that indicates that I have to support Israel in any way, shape, or form. And in fact, as Israel continues its genocide against the Palestinian people, I will continue to speak out against them, unafraid. Now, with that in mind, this organization has this on the front page of their website today to kind of give you a sense of the kind of garbage, the kind of bile you can experience from the so-called work that they put out. They're targeting Zoran Mamdani, who of course is the mayoral candidate in New York City, who's poised to win that race. And the reason why they don't like him is because, well, I mean, has he said anything anti-Semitic? No. Is he a jihadist? No. Does he believe in Sharia law? No. He just happens to be a Muslim American who wants to represent the city of New York rather than get down on his knees and fillet the government of Israel, like most other American politicians do. And Canary Mission can't have that. So now that we're like familiar with who they are, we should talk about how successful they've been in dog walking various members of the United States government. So for instance, the federal government has admitted working with Canary Mission to punish critics of Israel. Okay, so Peter Hatch, an agent with Immigration and Customs Enforcement, said the department had assembled a specialized group dubbed a Tiger Team to work on removing pro-Palestine college students from the country. He indicated to the court that some tips about students were communicated verbally before explaining that the team had also combed through the nearly 5,000 profiles Canary Mission had compiled of Israel's critics. You mean someone said, "Here is a list that the Canary Mission has put together"? Judge William Young asked Hatch, according to court transcripts. The official answered with a simple yes. Pathetic. Also, Haaretz recently revealed that Israel is using the information found on the Canary Mission site to ban entry into the country of some of the people the website follows, including Lara Al-Qassam, the American student barred from entering Israel for graduate studies at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. Now, luckily, I would never step foot on Israeli soil because I find that government utterly disgusting. And I see that country as a threat, not just to the Palestinian people, but to that entire region, the region of the Middle East. And their funding is super shadowy. I can get into their funding in just a second, but after they made me a target, Cenk, I got some really interesting messages. So first off, let me just say they put a post up on their Instagram page. And the comments on that post kind of gives you a sense of the type of people that we as Americans are supposed to do everything for. We're supposed to love them. We're supposed to give them our hard-earned taxpayer dollars so they can commit the genocide in Gaza. We're not supposed to criticize anything they're up to. Let me give you a few examples. Here's one person. You will meet your demise for all the unjust damage you have caused, just like Candace Owens. Oh, nice threat. It will be your turn soon. Those who hurt Jewish nation historically, whether collectively or individually, received their brutal karma sooner or later. Your time will be up soon.
So that's a very specific death threat that's saying we're gonna kill you, because by the way, when Israelis say they're gonna kill you, they probably are. I mean, so every threat from an Israeli is super serious. Right now, their government is run by a bunch of psychotic serial killers. And honestly, this is not a new phenomenon. In 2018, when the Palestinians were doing a peaceful protest, walking up to the wall, the IDF murdered every single one of them. Sniper shots, killed them all in a peaceful protest. Killed an American journalist covering it with a sniper shot to the neck. So when I've had the IDF write my name on a bomb, now this is one of many death threats that Anna got. She's gonna read you the rest of them. But I'm assuming we're gonna have congressional hearings right after this video goes up, right? Because I know that I don't know of a single death threat that was made to a single pro-Israeli student on any college campus. I've heard, oh my God, they had to walk around to get to a class. Oh, somebody said something against Israel. Whatever it was, believe me, if there was a death threat, we would have all heard about it 2 billion times, right? Okay, but now you have death threats against normal Christian and Muslim Americans. Will there be congressional hearings?
Of course not.
Of course not.
Hold on,
of course
Jake.
not.
This is just the tip of the iceberg. I'm starting with the more, I mean, when you look at the grand scheme of things and everything I'm gonna share with you, that seemed benign. Okay, here's another one.
None of them are benign. They're all threats and they're all disgusting.
Slaughter you, bitch. I mean, slaughter is what you guys specialize in. Let me continue. Here's another guy. I will kick your ass if I see you, bitch. Go to Gaza, bitch. Let's see. You are a Nazi bitch. And then ended it with an FU and middle fingers. Here's another person. Too bad she's not in Gaza.
So listen, there's two things I gotta address real quick.
Sure.
Because they think, man, if we had you in Gaza, then we'd murder you.
Yeah, just like they're murdering everyone else in Gaza, intentionally.
Right. So, I mean, it's a confession wrapped in a death threat, right? Oh, please come to Gaza so we can murder you like the Israeli government always does. But we're so mad at you for criticizing us. Oh, you were so wrong to criticize us for being genocidal killers. That's why we're gonna murder you if you come to Gaza, right? Because Gaza's a slaughterhouse, which they're happily applauding and cheering on. And second of all, they're used to, it's okay. We can murder anyone we like, because anyone who criticizes Israel is a Nazi. And that gives us the right to slaughter them, murder them, kill their babies, starve them to death, because in our ridiculous, paranoid, ludicrous, insane minds, everyone in the world's a Nazi. Everyone in the world hates Jews. Everyone in the world hates Israel for no reason. For no reason at all, when Israel was just benignly murdering everyone in Gaza. And then they brag. They're like, well, we murdered 62,000 people. We injured 150,000 people. We murdered 20,000 kids, but we didn't murder you all. That's their big excuse these days.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll individually threaten to murder anyone who criticizes Israel, and we'll get the American government to send us endless checks and endless weapons. And if anyone dares to criticize, we'll threaten them to ruin their lives by calling them anti-Semites, Nazis, etc. We'll threaten to fire them, arrest them, deport them. And then if none of that works, we'll threaten to murder you here on American soil.
And here's the thing, Cenk. I'm an American citizen. I was born and raised here. My parents came here legally. They're naturalized citizens, and then they gave birth to me. So they can't denaturalize me the way that Trump has threatened to do on behalf of Israel when it comes to other American citizens who have been critical of Israel. I'm also not implicated in a pedophile blackmail ring. I've got no skeletons in my closet. So the only thing they've got left is to try to scare me, intimidate me, and say that they're going to murder me. And guess what? It's not gonna work. Let me give you more. Here's another person who says, she better lives by an emergency room. Here's another one, God will take her away. And those are just the public comments on the post. There's more.
By the way, I'm gonna say one more thing before we get to the DMs. So now we showed you who made those comments. They're public comments.
They're public comments.
I guarantee the reaction of by the genocidal maniacs still supporting Israel is, I can't believe Anna doxed them by giving their names when all they were doing was threatening to murder her. It seems anti-Semitic to complain about it. It seems anti-Semitic to point out that I wanted to murder you in public. I can't believe you would dox me. Well, nobody, I'm not interested in your address. I'm not interested in where you live. I'm not a psychopath like you. I'm not looking to have me or anyone else do violence to you because we're moral, decent people. We're not psychopaths like you. But yes, you put your name on these things, whether it's the public ones or the DM ones. And you sent it very clearly. I would like to murder you. So you don't get to complain about, because there's no end to the complaints about anti-Semitism. No, we're not allowed to threaten to murder you? That seems discriminatory against me.
They're just the world's special victims, and anytime they do anything wrong, it's the best trick in the book, and people have fallen for it for such a long time, right? They do something wrong or evil, and they immediately accuse the person criticizing them for their bad acts of being anti-Semites. But the victim card has expired, okay? Israel's carrying out a genocide right now as we speak. They are engaged in conquest. They are stealing land, not just the Gaza Strip, not just the West Bank, but they've been annexing parts of Syria ever since the fall of Bashar al-Assad. You have Benjamin Netanyahu saying out loud that this is part of the greater Israel project. What more evidence do you need to figure out in your mind that you're the bad guys? But let me give you some of the DMs, okay? Those are the public comments. These are the messages I'm getting, okay? By the way, aside from people sending me images of their weapons, okay? I get messages like this. God willing, your family gets tortured and burned alive, you spoiled American college trust fund baby. And obviously this person created the account simply to send me that message. 0 posts, 0 followers. So unbelievably taken over by hatred that they take the time to create a profile just to send me that disgusting message.
But very clear.
It seems like slaughter is very much part of the culture in Israel these days.
So, and he puts an Israeli flag on it just to make sure you know. But yeah, on behalf of Israel, I would love to murder you, which is what we generally do in Israel. Anyone who criticizes or is a journalist covering this war accurately, we murder, like the 5-6 journalists that they just murdered the other day, like Shireen Abu Akleh, an American journalist they murdered earlier. Murder, murder, murder. And by the way, when he talks about lighting people on fire, that's what they do on a daily basis in Gaza. When you drop a bomb on someone, you burn them alive. Israel has been burning Palestinians alive for 2 straight years. It is one of the most disgusting campaigns in human history. Here's
another one. This one I sent to Cenk earlier, and it enraged him. One person calls me a whore, followed with, pretty clear we need to unalive you.
Okay, so I mean, again, Israeli flag, we need to unalive you. And when Israelis make that threat, since their government is filled with psychopathic killers, it's a super serious threat. But will any American authorities, American Congress, American media care? My prediction is not one person from mainstream media will cover this. Not one government official will care. If you're threatening to murder Christians or Muslims or anyone else in this country, they don't care.
No, they don't.
They don't. But if you insult someone who's pro-Israeli, oh, congressional hearings and ruin their lives, right? Okay, are you going to cover this, Elise Stefanik? Congress, are you going to do anything about this? Mainstream media, are you going to do a single thing about it? No. But God forbid that the feelings of Dana Bash or Jake Tapper be slightly insulted by criticism of Israel, a foreign country.
Yeah, exactly. Look, the reason why I'm doing this is I'm not looking for people to feel bad for me, right? Because I am not shaken by this. For me, I think it's important for people to understand why there are so many figures in the media who are terrified of accurate reporting of Israel. And more importantly, I'm not suicidal. And if anything happens to me, it's not an accident. Okay, I'm just putting it out there. I just wanted to be on the record. Here's one more example I'll give you. One person says, hope somebody drags you into an alley, cut your effing throat, and bury you in a shallow grave. You're an anti-American piece of, you know what?
No, you're anti-American.
Yeah.
You're saying that Israel should be the dogs of America, and if anybody in America dares to even complain about Israel, that's it, their throat should be cut. Is that an American thing to argue for? That if anyone uses their First Amendment rights, we should slit their throats if they made the mistake of using their First Amendment rights against a foreign government like Israel? So this is disgusting. But I know that no one will care. I know that. I'm gonna say this in case they might care about this. So groups like Canary Mission are
terrorist groups?
Yeah, well, of course, what they're doing is they're encouraging stochastic terrorism.
Yep.
So they're saying, okay, this person is an anti-Semite because he or she criticized Israel. They're not allowed to criticize Israel, they're all anti-Semites. And then they get like tons of death threats against that person, probably every single time. And then they probably laugh their ass off behind the scenes. Let's go, cross your fingers, hope to get lucky that one of them murders Anna, okay? And meanwhile, the US government takes their lists and arrests Americans based on their lists.
Yep.
So now there's a pro-Israel group inside America that is encouraging death threats against Americans, and the US government works for them like goddamn dogs, and they'll ruin your life if you criticize Israel. So we're all supposed to stay quiet about this. Well, you came to the wrong place, brothers and sisters. I'll double down what Anna said. If any harm comes to us, it was definitely Israel. We love life, we love America. This is proof of life, okay? If any of these monsters do anything, it was almost definitely Israel supporters who are maniacal and cheer on serial killers every single day. Oh no, we didn't kill enough Palestinian babies. I can't stand it. And by the way, okay, this is the part where the only reason why anyone might care about this story. A predecessor group to them was called Masada 2000. And what they did was they put together a list of 8,000 self-hating Jews, okay? And they targeted those Jewish Americans as well. How dare you criticize Israel? And I tell you that partly because if you're Muslim or Christian, no one cares about you in this country. Okay, I'm keeping it real, I'm sorry. Show me one person who cares, then I'll totally change my mind. But you have to criticize anyway. So, and these guys target Jewish Americans for peace as well, okay? Through Jewish Voices for Peace and any other Jewish group who's wonderful out there fighting for peace. Okay, so religion doesn't matter. This isn't about religion. They're hiding behind religion and using Jewish people as human shields so that if anybody criticizes them, anti-Semite, they're trying to hurt the Jews. Nobody's trying to hurt the Jews. We're trying to say that Israel should stop slaughtering Palestinians and we should stop paying for it. They go, nope, that's it. If you're a Muslim, Christian, or a Jewish American, and you dare to criticize Israel, we'll try to ruin your life.
Right.
So this isn't about religion. This is about protecting a foreign government.
So one other thing I want to bring up is, a lot of people, Israelis specifically, got chapped over me telling the truth about how the international community views Israel. The international community hates Israel. And it's not because they're Jewish. No one cares about being Jewish. No one cares. Literally, like, outside of a handful of disgusting neo-Nazi white supremacists, no one cares about Judaism or who is Jewish, who isn't Jewish. It has nothing to do with that. You're slaughtering innocent people. We see endless videos and images of children with their freaking limbs amputated if they haven't already been slaughtered by the IDF. Okay, that's what people are criticizing. The fact that they immediately try to turn it around and make it about them, deflect and make it about how they're the victims of anti-Semitism is so loathsome and so disgusting. But on top of that, we gotta talk about the cultural issue within Israel, because they love to talk about how, the Palestinian children deserve to be slaughtered because they're taught to hate. They're taught to hate the Israelis. But if you look at videos online, there's tons of them. It seems like a lot of young Israelis are just taught to hate the Palestinians. In fact, there's a Palestinian American by the name of Hamza. He has an incredible YouTube channel. He streams and has these conversations with Israelis living in Israel. And I wanna go to the first video to give you a sense of what those conversations look like.
Hi, IDF?
No way, it's not you.
Do you know me? Do you watch my videos?
Yeah.
What do you think about the bombs in Gaza? Do you think they should continue to bomb Gaza?
Yeah, should they flood the city, no people.
Really, no people? There are 1 million children in Gaza. You said you want them all gone?
After our hostages come back, then bomb Gaza.
When the hostages come back, you'll bomb Gaza?
I want that.
So when the hostages return, you want to bomb Gaza?
Yeah.
And you want to kill everyone there?
It's maybe because you're an Arab, you are stupid.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm stupid because I'm Arab? What does that mean?
Yeah.
I wanna go to another one. Let's go to the next
Before
video.
we go to the next one, I just want to point out what the IDF soldiers there are saying. They're saying, be stupid enough to give us the hostages back, and we're gonna murder you all anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, do they speak for the government of Israel?
Yes.
They don't. But
they do.
But do they? Are there tons and tons of them on video saying this? As Smotrich and Ben Gvir said, annihilate them all. Yes. Has Benjamin Netanyahu said, conquer Gaza, take it all, we're on a mission for greater Israel? Yes. So that genocidal campaign that you're seeing with your own eyes from IDF soldiers there is actually the official government policy of Israel, and their entire parliament voted 68-9, not a single Jewish vote against it, in a vote to say we will never make Palestine a state. Basically, they're saying they'll be our inferior servants for the rest of their lives. We'll run open air prisons and concentration camps, and they will never be free because we are the superior race. I've heard this before. But the last time I heard it, I was super proud that America went to fight the monsters who were doing the Holocaust and save those beautiful Jewish people from getting hurt, okay? That's when we were the good guys. Now, our government says, you're offending the sensibility of the Germans. The German feelings have been hurt. Congressional hearings about German feelings, okay? But there's who the Germans are slaughtering? Who cares? Send them more money. Send them more money. They haven't slaughtered enough people yet, okay? See, we used to be proud of this country when we stood for justice. Now we stand for these maniacs.
One more video, let's go to A2, please.
Hi.
Oh, you're the one that with the Free Palestine.
What do you think about Israel bombing Gaza and killing all the civilians?
I don't think nothing. I think they should have it. I think that what?
You said you think they should be bombed?
Yeah.
The innocent lives. Are the kids being bombed in Gaza? Is that okay?
Yeah.
The kid, maybe you didn't hear me. I'll ask you again. Are the kids?
Yeah, you know why? Okay, yalla, bye.
Hi.
Palestine.
Hi, nice to meet you. I don't even know you. Why are you being like that? You think it's funny that Israel's bombing innocent lives in Gaza?
With your babies here.
You think it's funny?
Yeah, it's very funny.
Are you even human?
I'm human, you see, I'm not a robot. These babies are
No, you know what? One more video, last one.
Hi, I'm from Palestine.
No, listen, peace.
Peace?
Yes, peace.
Okay, so free Palestine?
No. After we kill all Gaza, then it will be peace.
There are 1 million children in Gaza and you want them all gone? You said you wanted peace by killing Palestinians. Unfortunately, they teach their kids that to have peace is by getting rid of Palestinians.
Guys, this is the banality of evil. This is what we study in museums. I remember going to the Thomas Museum here in LA, and it's a great museum, is about the Holocaust. And what I wanted to find out was, how did the regular Germans live with it, right? Because that's the part I couldn't believe. Like, okay, you get a cult leader, he takes over the weapons and then grabs the government, I get it, right? But I wanted to know about the banality of evil and how the Germans thought, oh, it's no big deal, round up the Jews and the Poles and the Roma and the LGBTQ and murder them all, put them in gas chambers, etc. No big deal, right? How could human beings think that way? Well, now we have our answer. You saw it in those videos. Like perfectly normal people, they're like, yeah, murder all the kids. Palestinians have no rights, they're inferior. They're not even human, so what? Slaughter their babies, slaughter all of their babies. And they do it with like, oh, we're in the suburbs, we're having fun, we're so rich and we're so great, and we have paid family leave and we have everything we need and we're a top 20 economy and we have Iron Dome and we have nukes and you can't ever touch us. So since we're invincible, we're just gonna rub it in your face, ha ha ha, we like to kill your babies. And America goes, oh, congratulations, here's another $20 billion.
Yep.
So guys, they don't represent all Israelis. We just had a protest of 500,000 Israelis that showed up that said, they're fighting for the hostages back, they're fighting for peace. Mixed reasons why.
They want the hostages back. They don't care about what's happening to the Palestinians at all. Let's not needlessly launder their reputations, and let's just call it for what it is and who they really are. They don't care about the Palestinians. They're in favor of the starvation. They're in favor of the mass slaughter. They just want their hostages back, and that's it.
Guys,
they're worried about IDF soldiers now committing suicide because they probably can't live with themselves considering the atrocities they're carrying out. They only care about the Israelis. That's it. There might be a handful of Israelis who might care about all those innocent people being slaughtered in Gaza, but polling indicates a vast majority of Israelis love the slaughter, and it disgusts me. What am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to love that? I'm supposed to sit here on this show and talk about how wonderful Israel is? No, they're committing a genocide, and the vast majority of people in that country love it.
So that's according to the polling. I wish it wasn't the case. It's not some random thing that somebody's throwing out as a trope or whatever. Last poll I saw, 82% of Israeli Jews said, keep going in Gaza. Jesus Christ, man. So they'll say something different about the hostages because those are precious Israeli lives. And all lives we are perfectly consistent. All lives are perfectly precious. We don't want the same thing that the Israeli population and government want. We don't want to slaughter the Israelis. We want to leave them in peace. We don't want a single Israeli hurt.
I want nothing to do with them.
Yeah, so
nothing to do with them.
So, but the poll after poll after poll shows, yeah, we want to end it. Also, they're beginning to realize that this is turning into a PR disaster for Israel, and good.
Yeah, slaughtering kids turns out to make you look really bad. Yeah,
and I know what their justification was. Oh, everybody hates the Jews anyway. Yeah, everybody hated us anyway.
No one cares that you're Jewish. Literally, no one cares that you're Jewish. Literally.
And by the way, you gotta let it go, man. I know everybody was taught in Israel, oh, the world hates all the Jews and they're gonna try to kill you at any moment. Kill them first. They're all Nazis, kill them first. You can't teach someone anything worse than that. And ironically, all projection, what do they say? Oh, the Palestinians teach their kids to hate the Jews. No, you're teaching your kids to absolutely hate the Palestinians, think that killing them is killing Nazis, killing their children is some sort of moral act. That's what Israelis are doing right now. So you'll excuse us if we're not overly impressed by the 18% of Israelis that have their conscience bothered by this war. That number should be 98%, especially for people who went through a Holocaust and so many pogroms themselves. How could you not have empathy? But look, those tapes are not, I wish they were exceptions. We show you that because according to the polling, that's the rule. Blithely, giddily, and backing the slaughterhouse in Gaza.
Yep.
So, look, they can say anything they like about us, but we're gonna keep telling you the truth. And the truth is, this current government of Israel is totally a rogue, pariah, terrorist state. And the fact that they're taking money from all of us, every single one of us. When you go to work, you're partly going to work to send money to Israel to kill those Palestinians and laugh about it. And now their supporters are openly threatening to murder Americans who disagree.
Yeah.
So, okay, here's where we are.
The few American doctors here are doing what they can to help Palestinian medical staff. A photo above Zainab's cot reads Zainab the Queen. She suffers from a condition that means she needs special baby formula. Foreign doctors saying any formula they bring with them is confiscated by Israeli authorities, part of a wider 5-month blockade of the Strip. Images of skeletal Palestinian children like Zainab sparking outrage around the world, but Israel is casting doubt on claims of famine.
Well, what else would you expect from the Israeli government? Meanwhile, desperate to get sufficient humanitarian aid into the Gaza Strip, Hamas has accepted a 60-day truce that's much more favorable to Israel, to be quite frank. And now the ball is in Tel Aviv's court. Are they going to accept this ceasefire deal? Spoiler alert, they won't. Here's more details on it.
From everything we know out of Cairo in particular, it is indistinguishable from the plan that Israel had in its hands and walked away from back in March 2nd, including a 60-day truce, as you said, the release of 10 out of more or less 20 living hostages and 18 bodies of dead hostages in exchange for around 200 Palestinian prisoners sentenced to life sentences or sentences longer than 15 years. That's what we know for now, and everybody's waiting on tenterhooks to see how Israel might respond.
So again, in sum, this would be a 60-day truce with further negotiations allegedly to make the ceasefire permanent. This was negotiated and put together by officials in Qatar and Egypt. It would require the return of the remains of 18 hostages who have died immediately in exchange for 200 Palestinian prisoners who have been convicted and sentenced. However, some reporting in Dropsite News provides additional details. For instance, Hamas would release 8 Israeli captives who are still alive immediately, and then 2 additional captives on the 50th day, along with the bodies of the 18 Israelis who have died. Now, Dropsite also references Al Jazeera's reporting on the number of Palestinian prisoners that Hamas wants released, which conflicts a little bit with the report that you heard earlier. So they write that Israel would free 1,700 Palestinians, 45 people who have been, convicted to life sentences, 15 long-term prisoners, and 1,500 Gazans detained since October 7th who haven't even been charged with anything. So I feel strange calling them prisoners. They appear to be hostages on the Palestinian side. Now, Egypt and Qatar again pledged to work against a return to war if no final deal follows the 60-day truce. But this is not written in the proposal, and Hamas has also dropped its earlier demand for a US guarantee for security, because keep in mind, Israel is demanding, and this is one of the sticking points, that Hamas give up its weapons, demilitarize. But if you demilitarize, that essentially ensures that the ball is entirely in Israel's court. They get to do whatever they want with no resistance. They initially wanted some sort of security guarantee from the US. I wouldn't have trusted a security guarantee from the US anyway, but it doesn't even look like the US is entertaining that, so they've dropped it. And according to the New York Times, the latest terms are similar to those that Israel had previously accepted, and they include both a temporary ceasefire and a path to an agreement to end the war, according to 2 diplomats and an Egyptian official who spoke to the Times. Now, mediators also agree. Qatari Foreign Ministry spokesperson Majed Al-Ansari, speaking at a press conference in Doha on Tuesday, said that the proposal Hamas agreed to was almost identical to Witkoff's. To Witkoff's previous proposal. Almost 98% of what has been agreed to by the Israelis was contained in this recent proposal. But it is unlikely that Israel will accept the ceasefire because they do not want peace. And I'll give you the evidence of that and what we've heard from the Israelis so far in just a moment. First, I want to go to you, Cenk.
Yeah, so I'm going to comment on the overall situation first and then get to what I think of the ceasefire. So number one, you saw in that clip there, the very end where we of the clip where they say, but the Israelis say nothing is true. It's like, we shouldn't even quote the Israelis anymore. First of all, they have a near 100% track record of lying. So then what's the point of putting out something that's nearly guaranteed to be a lie, proven to be lies by every major press organization in the world, all their different absurd claims like, oh, we are not bombing hospitals. Oh, did we destroy almost every hospital in Gaza? So it's kind of like saying, well, on the other hand, the Germans say the Jews had it coming. But that's not an interesting thing to point out. No, that's not an on the other hand.
It's not worth printing.
Yes, yeah. I'm not interested in the German propaganda during World War II, and I'm not interested in the Israeli propaganda in the middle of this genocide, especially when it's been proven to be false almost every time. All right, number two, like for you to understand the starvation that was shown in the clip and what Anna's referring to. So first of all, every day, we can't, if all we did was bring you the numbers, it would be so depressing. Yesterday, 54 people killed in Gaza. Today, it's 26 people killed. And it depends on how you're counting, because they're like, but because there's the bombs that they drop on them where they light them on fire. There's the starvation. Every day, 3 to 4 new people die of starvation alone. But one of the most startling facts that I did not know before, I found out today also from DropSite News, who's doing brilliant reporting on this, okay? The Israelis are killing the fishermen.
I wonder why they would do that. That's weird.
Isn't that weird? Why?
Weird.
They have killed now in this conflict a record number of journalists, a record number of human rights workers, unseen anywhere else. In fact, the rest of the world combined has not killed as many human rights workers or journalists as Israel has in Gaza in this last year, okay? But also, they've now broken the record for number of fishermen that they've killed. Why? Because they don't want them getting food. It's not like they think they're gonna fish up some sort of weapons or rocket out of the sea. No, they don't want the Palestinians being fed because it is an intentional starvation.
And this is what makes Trump's obsessive quest for a Nobel Peace Prize so disgusting. Because even if he does what at the moment appears to be impossible, brokering a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine, it still leaves the question of Gaza unanswered. And the reality of this situation is, Israel would not be able to carry out the genocide it's currently carrying out in Gaza without the help of the United States government. Now, the American people in poll after poll are not in favor of supporting Israel in what it is carrying out. But the Trump administration has chosen to completely ignore the American people, including a huge portion of his own base when it comes to this issue. So you can't get a Nobel Peace Prize. I mean, it would make the Nobel Peace Prize a complete and utter joke. I mean, look, I think it was already a joke after Obama got it when he expanded Bush-era foreign policy and even ramped up, the drone strikes that killed a ton of innocent people in the Middle East. But giving it to Donald Trump as he's aiding and abetting a genocide that has killed tens of thousands of innocent people so far, and that's an underestimate in Gaza, is laughable to say the least.
Look, we're the fairest show in America. Here, I'll prove it again. So if Trump delivers a two-state solution on an independent Palestine, and that gets peace as far as the eye can see in the Middle East and Israel and Palestine, I'll personally deliver the Nobel Prize to him. Okay, I'll do everything in my power to make sure he gets a Nobel Peace Prize because he would richly deserve it, and I'll fundraise for a statue of Trump. Okay.
Oh boy.
No, I don't give a damn.
I agree. Look, I agree, okay, especially when it comes to this issue, right? If you finally have an American president who's willing to stand up to Israel and do the right thing, he would definitely deserve a Nobel Peace Prize for that. I don't think he's ever going to do it, though.
Yeah, there's only one president who's been strong enough to do that, and that's why the American media smeared him as weak. It was Jimmy Carter. Okay, he's the only one that got peace in the Middle East. So my thing is a giant if. Is Trump going to do that? He seems to have no inclination towards that. That brings me back to the ceasefire. So just yesterday, Trump is talking about, oh no, let's go slaughter them, and that'll mean the path to victory. I got it, dude. Netanyahu has something on you. I got it. Okay, so now in terms of this offer, well, what do you want? This was a complete, by the way, like they say 98% is protecting Hamas in some ways. This is a complete collapse by Hamas.
Yeah. Totally.
Hamas is giving in completely. 98% is as good as 100%. And here's the key parts. They've conceded on every major thing that Israel wanted. They say, yes, Israel can stay in the buffer zones in Gaza, so the occupation of Gaza continues. No, it is not a permanent end to the war, which is what Hamas was demanding. and no, you get no US security guarantees. So all it does is it gets some prisoners back. Look, that one, I don't, honestly, I don't care that as much about. Why? For a couple of reasons. One, I don't know their prisoners and I don't know what they did or didn't do. And number two is for the ones that Israel just grabs as hostages, the innocent Palestinians, they could just go grab more tomorrow, and they will. That's what they always do, right? True. They're terrorists, and I mean they hold 5.5 million people hostage. Just grabbing people off the street randomly is Israeli IDF 101. So they're just going to grab more hostages. It's not going to make a difference, right? Israel can keep infinite number of hostages. So the thing I care about is ending the conflict and Israel leaving Gaza. But they're not getting that. All they're getting is Israel gets more hostages back, and you get maybe a 60-day reprieve, and then the slaughter continues. And the Israelis say, no, we're definitely going to continue the slaughter. It's just a matter of when we wipe you out and move everyone out of Gaza and take it for ourselves. They've already voted on it. They're not unclear about it. So Hamas has totally crumbled here in negotiations. And we bring it over back to the Israelis. They said yes, and the Israelis are like, oh, damn it.
Well, okay, so first of all, I guess well played in that it does call out Israelis' bluff, and even the New York Times has no choice but to admit, yeah, it looks like Israel's getting pretty much everything they want. The ball's in their court. We're waiting to see what they say. They have not issued an official statement on the ceasefire offer yet, okay? As we are talking about it at this moment, they might afterwards, after we publish this video. But here's what we know so far. Last week, in an interview with I-24, which is an Israeli publication, Netanyahu made clear that he is no longer interested in a deal that would involve the release of only some hostages or hostages in, stages, essentially. That was, by the way, the same interview in which he made clear that he is absolutely a believer in the Greater Israel Project and intends to annex the West Bank, the Gaza Strip, potentially land that goes beyond that, encroaching on territory in other neighboring countries as well. So look, I need people who don't understand this yet to just finally accept it, to finally understand it. What Netanyahu and the IDF have been doing in the Gaza Strip has never been about saving the hostages. They see the hostages as the price that they're going to pay in order to take that land. If they cared about the hostages, there wouldn't be a 3-month blockade of humanitarian aid entering the Gaza Strip, which of course negatively impacts the Palestinians, who they couldn't care less about, but obviously also impacts the Israeli hostages who remain held captive in the Gaza Strip. They don't care about the hostages. And I think the Israeli people who took to the streets over the weekend in this mass protest have finally understood that. Now, in turn, by the way, Israel's Dogs in America followed suit with the same messaging that you hear from Netanyahu, with Steve Witkoff basically telling the Ynet Hebrew news site, no piecemeal deals, that doesn't work. Now we think that we have to shift this negotiation to all or nothing. Everybody comes home. We have a plan around it, he added without elaborating.
Okay, great, brother, great. Okay, but I'm super happy to do all or nothing. But that means Israel leaves Gaza. If Israel doesn't leave Gaza, what you're saying is, you give us everything we want. You allow yourself to be slaughtered. You allow yourself to be moved out. You allow Israel to steal Gaza, and that's our offer. Well, that's not an offer.
Right.
That's just saying, we're gonna do whatever the hell we want, and we're getting the idiot press to play along while we're pretending to do fake offers.
And Hamas, by the way, said that they were absolutely willing to release all the hostages in one fell swoop at once in return for a permanent end to the war. But Israel doesn't want that, and they don't care about the hostages.
And guys, there's no question about it. Everyone reports the facts the same, but what's fascinating is the framing around the facts, right? Yep. So the facts are, Israel is saying no to its own so-called ceasefire deal, and Israel is saying that there's no way they're ever going to let Palestinians rule Gaza again. And in fact, they voted with every single member representing Jewish Israelis in the Knesset voting to never allow Palestine. So they've said it 1,000 times. We all know what the facts are. They're going to steal Gaza, and they voted on it. They said, we are going to conquer Gaza, right? Now, the framing around it is American media going, but the Germans say that they're doing it on behalf of the Palestinians, and the Germans say that they have to keep the Jews in the concentration camps because that's what's best for them. And the Germans say that they have plenty to eat because not all the Jews have starved. Oh, I'm sorry, I meant the Israelis and the Palestinians.
So Netanyahu, according to the New York Times, has said, I hear the reports in the media, and from them you can be impressed by one thing: Hamas is under immense pressure. Well, I mean, this has been a lopsided, asymmetrical issue where you have Israel armed to the teeth, thanks to the United States taxpayer, against their own will, by the way. And what do the Palestinians have? Do they have a military? Do they have the Iron Dome? Do they have the same defense capabilities? Do they have the world's military superpower, the United States, arming them the way that Israel is being armed? Like, it's pathetic. It's absolutely pathetic when you have all of the advantages and you're like, puffing up your chest like some big tough guy, as if the fall of Israel wouldn't immediately occur if the United States pulled support from your disgusting country. Okay, that's the reality of the situation. Netanyahu feeling all high and mighty as he's like sucking up US taxpayer money to carry out this disgusting genocide in Gaza and the annexation of the West Bank. That's the reality of the situation. But look, I wanna go to one video, Cenk, because there are some journalists out there who are paying attention, who are doing good work, and Channel 4 News in the UK is a good example of what I'm talking about. So in this interview, you're gonna hear from an Israeli spokesperson. He represents Israel's foreign ministry, and he's trying to rewrite history in real time, but the host won't let him. Take a look.
I want to see the hostages coming back right now. The only problem is we are not negotiating with ourselves.
But sorry to interrupt you. There were large numbers of hostages released after a deal was done, between you and Hamas via the Qataris and the Americans, quite some time ago now. We saw, hundreds of hostages, more than 100 hostages released. But there has to be a deal.
There has to be a deal, and for a deal, you need two to tango. Right now, Israel said yes to every proposal that was put on the table. Again, this is not me speaking. This is the United States of America. This is Steve Witkoff saying. This is the president of the United States saying, Hamas is not willing to budge.
What an absolute liar, what a disgrace. It is embarrassing that the United States government again is being humiliated and dog-walked by a foreign country. And by the way, in addition to the lies you just heard, you should know Netanyahu's office also said on Monday that the prime minister had spoken with Defense Minister Israel Katz and the Israeli military about our plans regarding Gaza City and the completion of our missions, meaning the full occupation of the Gaza Strip. And they're gonna do that by a ground invasion of Gaza City, which they've already begun. And Trump is encouraging this, writing on Truth Social that we will only see the return of the remaining hostages when Hamas is confronted and destroyed. The sooner this takes place, the better the chances of success will be. The only time the hostages were returned was during times of peace, when there was a ceasefire. The last ceasefire, by the way, unsurprisingly, was broken by Israel. They don't care about the hostages, Cenk.
Yeah, even if with this Hamas's surrender on the negotiations, even if Israel said yes and Hamas gave back the hostages in this deal, and it was supposed to just last 60 days, Israel could violate it at any time, and they always do. They break every ceasefire. So, like their word means nothing. That's why, guys, one of our members made a really interesting point on another show. They said, the only time the Israelis seem to get challenged is if it's an anchor with an accent of any sort.
100% true.
And that is, you're absolutely right. That's because cable news is also occupied by Israel, right? And so that one is a mystery to me. I don't know why. I know why the politicians are. That's AIPAC money, Israeli lobby money. It's clear as day. Probably some compromise in there. Okay, but the press is absurd. So, for example, to Anna's earlier point, Israel has nukes and Iron Dome. It's almost impossible to be safer. That's why there are Israeli soldiers now that are saying on October 7th they told us to stand down. I don't know why they told us to stand down for 4.5 hours.
We know why.
Okay, so it's a nearly impenetrable country that can retaliate with nukes, and the Palestinians are down to stones. They just have stones left. You know, they used to complain like, oh, they're firing rockets at us at all times. It's like pea shooters, Iron Dome shot down 99.8% of them. Okay, no threat to Israel at all, but they were like, oh my God, we're in existential danger. Did you know that one of us once got injured tripping while looking at one of the missiles getting knocked down? Meanwhile, there's 62,000 slaughtered bodies in Gaza.
An underestimate, yeah.
Yeah, and 156,000 that are injured, etc. Okay, so, but the American press looks at that and goes, the Palestinians are threatening Israel's right to exist. But Israel is not threatening the Palestinians' right to exist, even though Israel literally blocks the Palestinians' right to exist, literally and physically. So the American press is filled with almost complete liars that are all lying to you and trying to brainwash you on behalf of Israel with preposterous talking points. Oh, we owe Israel. Why do we owe Israel?
No, we don't owe Israel anything.
What a weird thing to say.
Israel owes the American taxpayer. They have been taking hundreds of billions of dollars from the American taxpayer to carry out its atrocities, okay? Let's just keep it real. By the way, Netanyahu has called French President Emmanuel Macron, who I don't have any love for, but Macron wants to establish a Palestinian state. And for that reason, Netanyahu has accused him of being an anti-Semite.
Yeah, of course he has. And by the way, again, like what you should do if you're a real reporter who's objective is say, look, that's absurd. This is a guy who's committing a genocide now. His word has no weight at all, and he's a deep bigot who obviously thinks that Palestinian lives are worthless. He believes in Jewish supremacy, and that's why he says God owes him greater Israel. America owes him $300 billion. All this is absurd, but instead our media does the exact opposite. They go, no, that's true. We owe him Israel, and Netanyahu says it, so it must be true, etc. Okay, now guys, if you wonder why we get so upset about this story, so from time to time we get asked that. Number one, we have a genocide happening in the middle of our lives. So like, don't go to a museum to figure out what you could do in the middle of a genocide.
Yeah, with our money.
Do it now.
With our money, our money.
Okay.
I love how come you don't care about this conflict that's happening elsewhere in the world? Because we're not funding that conflict.
And I do care about it. I interviewed one of the leaders of the Uyghur people about the genocide happening in China to the Uyghurs, to the Uyghurs. And there's different pronunciations.
But your calls for deflection and distraction are not gonna work.
Yeah, but we're not funding the Chinese concentration camps. We are funding the Israeli genocide. So that's point number two. Number one, there's a genocide. You should all be animated. Number two, they're doing it with our money. And they're saying that if we object, we're the hateful ones. You're an anti-Semite if you object to genocide. Okay, that's the latest definition in ludicrous, insane mental asylum definition. Okay, number three is the gaslighting. The gaslighting is unbearable. Poor little Israel's the victim of those monstrous, super powerful Palestinians. Oh, the Palestinians are oppressing the poor little Israelis. That's why they had all to be murdered and slaughtered. Their children are terrorists too. So the gaslighting is unbearable. So so much of it is mainstream media's fault. And lastly, guys, this is among the most important issue, and it's connected to money in politics. Do we control our own government or don't we?
No, we don't.
So this is not a small issue. Do we have sovereignty? Do we actually have a democracy? Is this America? Or did I accidentally immigrate to a colony of Israel? Like if you told my family, hey, you're going to occupy territory and the country you believe in, this hope and this dream and this beautiful thing that you believe in, it's just a joke. Israel controls it. If anyone in America disagrees with Israel, there'll come a time when they'll be arrested, denaturalized, deported, have all their funding cut, etc. No. I never agreed to give up American sovereignty. No one agreed to it. The only people who agreed to are deeply corrupt politicians and our deeply corrupt media, whose job is to lie to you. And I'll add one last thing about Trump's statue. Give me a two-state solution with an independent Palestine, and by the way, an independent and safe Israel. Okay, you get statues of you, right? You help them commit this genocide with our money, you also get statues. But all of your statues will be drenched in blood, okay? Because that's what you're doing. Oh, Israel, I'll serve you like a little puppy dog. And you'll be known forever, Donald J. Trump, as a bitch, as a guy who served Israel's orders like a dog.
Woof.
Okay, America first, my ass. Show me 1 ounce of independence from Israel and I'll believe you. But for now, I see the leash and I see you getting walked around the park, brother. And we all got eyes and ears and we all see it, including your own base.
Across Gaza, one thing is clear. Israel's military operation is relentless. Now, as Gaza City's 1 million people brace for a new ground offensive, those who've already fled in search of safety fear even greater catastrophe may be imminent. Witnesses said the IDF struck the Al Munassara camp in Deir al-Balah 3 times today. Some 70 families already living in makeshift homes, now forced to flee once again.
Well, America's special ally has decided to completely ignore international condemnation and overnight launched its offensive against Gaza City with a barrage of strikes. It's the latest move in the Israeli government's conquest and mission to expand as part of the Greater Israel Project. Now, the operation in Gaza City is being referred to as Gideon's Chariot 2. And aside from Gaza City, the Israeli occupation forces bombed Khan Yunis in southern Gaza and Deir al-Balah in the center of the enclave. Now, clearly, Israel has no appetite for peace and has completely ignored the fact that Hamas has in fact accepted a ceasefire deal that is far more favorable to the Israelis than it is to the Palestinians. But nonetheless, Israel said its military had entered the first stages of a planned assault that includes calling up 60,000 reservists. There are also reports that Israel is looking for an additional 10,000 troops and is essentially soliciting for troops on the international stage. So let me just say, if you're an American and you identify as an American and you leave this country to go fight on behalf of Israel's genocide, I don't know if I really want to consider you a fellow American. But nonetheless, Netanyahu is still pretending as though he wants to save the hostages and defeat Hamas, when in reality he wants to expand Israel's borders. He says, quote, "I have come to approve the IDF's plans to take over Gaza City and defeat Hamas. At the same time, I have instructed to begin immediate negotiations on the release of all our hostages and an end to the war on terms acceptable to Israel. These two things, defeating Hamas and releasing our hostages, go hand in hand." That's also just a complete lie. It's not really about getting the hostages back. And I would be, sadly, it would be shocking if the remaining hostages remain alive, because it's not really about saving them. It's not about freeing them. It's about doing whatever it takes to clear that land of the Palestinian people so Israel can snatch it for themselves. Cenk, back to you.
So we're now going from genocide to Holocaust. So we're not there yet. Holocaust is when you try to wipe out everyone in the race, but they're trying to either move or kill 2 million Palestinians in Gaza. So you're gonna see later in the program, it's one of the worst civilian kill ratios in modern history. They're definitely intending to murder the civilians. It's now a full-blown terrorist state. Their civilian kill ratio is way worse than Hamas's, way worse than Bosnia, which was a historic genocide, worse than Sudan, and I can go on, and we will later in the program. So they are intentionally murdering civilians, children. We've got another quote from is the head of the Israeli military directorate, who said that we should kill 50 Palestinians for one Israeli, including their children. So when I see Israelis on TV, etc., defending this genocide, they all look German to me. And they're like, yeah, this is genocide is sehr gut. Mach schnell on killing the Palestinians and removing them from Gaza. Okay, so now these guys are saying, yeah, we're gonna move out the whole million.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that is textbook ethnic cleansing, guys, textbook. There's no dispute over it at all. So if you're still supporting Israel, you're supporting a terrorist state, and you should own up to it. You should say, yeah, I like terrorism as long as it helps me. I like that we're murdering the Palestinian children because, hey, then we'll get to take Gaza and we'll have more land. You could just be honest, then at least we could have an honest conversation. But the idea that Israel is not doing terrorism or this is not a genocide is completely over.
So the United Nations body for Palestinian refugees known as UNRWA said that nearly 1 in 3 children in Gaza were now malnourished, intentionally so. I mean, look, Israel defaming UNRWA as a Hamas terrorist organization was very much intentional. Stopped the flow of humanitarian aid into the Gaza Strip for literally 3 months. And then follow that with an Israeli-backed organization that's run by American contractors that essentially shoots and kills desperate Palestinians as they go to 3 humanitarian aid hubs. UNRWA was operating hundreds of humanitarian aid hubs in Gaza before they were banned by the Israelis. The Palestinian Health Ministry in Gaza said Thursday that 2 people had died due to malnutrition in the past 24 hours, bringing the total to 271. 271 people who have died from malnutrition, from starvation, since Israel launched its assault on the besieged enclave. And there's now also an Israeli paper, I wanna be clear, an Israeli paper publishing about some leaked documents from the IDF that finally sheds light on the combatant to civilian ratio. Basically the number of civilians who have been killed versus the number of Hamas militants that have been killed. And it turns out Israeli army database suggests at least 83% of Gaza dead were civilians. Classified intelligence for May reveals Israel believed it had killed some 8,900 militants in its attacks on Gaza, indicating a proportion of civilian slaughter with few parallels in modern warfare, because this is a genocide. That's what this is. Okay, so this is the IDF's documentation, the IDF's. Okay, the most moral army that we are funding, that we are arming, disgusting. 83% as of May of the people slaughtered in Gaza, civilians. Let me read some excerpts from this piece. Figures obtained from the classified database, which records the deaths of militants from Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad, contradict by a huge margin the public statements of Israeli army and government officials throughout the war, which have generally claimed a 1-to-1 or 2-to-1 ratio of civilian to militant casualties. Now, the Israeli army has even confirmed the existence of this database, and it seems like they get away with everything, so they don't really feel the need to deny it or anything. They're acknowledging it. So this was managed by the Military Intelligence Directorate, which also goes by a Hebrew acronym Amman. So the Israeli army believed it had killed around, again, 8,900 operatives since October 7th through May of this year. The deaths of 7,330 of whom were considered certain and 1,570 recorded as probably dead. The vast majority of them were junior, meaning junior combatants, with the army suspecting it had killed 100 to 300 senior Hamas operatives out of a total of 750 named in the database. Now, taking the militant casualty figures obtained from the internal Israeli army database in May and lining them up against the health ministry's total death toll, it is possible to calculate an approximate civilian casualty ratio for the war up until 3 months ago, when the death toll stood at 53,000. So in other words, again, as we had suspected, the vast majority of those who have been killed in Gaza by the Israeli occupation forces were in fact civilians. And by the way, the Gaza Health Ministry's numbers is an undercount because it doesn't consider the bodies that are still trapped under the rubble. There are hundreds of thousands of people in Gaza that are missing right now. And I think it's pretty safe to presume those individuals are dead. So we don't know what the exact death toll is at the moment, but even the IDF acknowledges in their own internal database that, again, the vast majority of people they have killed are in fact civilians, and I think that's intentional.
Of course it's intentional, and we've told you before, American doctors talking about sniper shots on kids under the age of 5, an unbelievable number of them. They were literally bombing and razing all of the buildings and homes in Gaza. I mean, if this is unintentional, I mean, why would you pay people to destroy every building in Gaza if it's unintentional? Like none of it makes any sense. Look, so let's break this down one by one. First of all, I mentioned some historic genocides before. Let me give you more. The butcher of Damascus, Bashar al-Assad, just annihilated Aleppo early on in the civil war. It was just grotesque. The civilian kill ratio there was 59%. Israel's is 83%, okay? And that's 83% is low because it doesn't count anyone under the rubble. It is a massive undercount according to the Lancet Journal, one of the top medical journals in the world. But even if you take that number, and the number of people that they killed that are theoretically Hamas fighters is also high. There's about 1,700 of them that they say are probably dead. So we're giving them the probably dead, right? Because this is from a leak from IDF itself, right? So you give them all that and they still get to 83% now. But of course, nothing is as bad as the barbaric terrorists of Hamas. Because on October 7th, their civilian kill ratio, a little bit of dispute around civilians and military around the edges. So the number can't be pinpointed exactly, but it is between 60 and 67%. Wait a minute. That's way lower than Israel's kill ratio. So now Israel's civilian kill ratio much higher than the terrorist group Hamas, and they have now done 60 October 7ths at a bare minimum. 60. So when that military director guy in Israel said we should kill 50 civilians for one Israeli and murder their children too, it was an undercount. They've now gone to 60, and that's before they annihilate Gaza City, which started today, okay? So look, that's why I'm telling you, genocide is now beginning to be too mild a term. It appears that they're trying to wipe out all the Palestinians in Gaza, and that would be very much historic. There's only really one other time that's happened, and of course, ironically, it happened to the Jews in Germany. In terms of the caloric intake and the starvation that they're doing, obviously also shows intent. But did you know that before October 7th, Israel was already managing the caloric intake of Gaza?
I did know that actually.
And what's funny is that they say like, oh no, we left Gaza. We left it. We control Gaza? No, not at all. No, they have the border closed. They have checkpoints. Anyone that approaches the wall without permission gets murdered, literally. 150 people murdered in a peaceful protest in 2018. And they control Gaza completely. All the medical aid, the food, even before October 7th. You know why? Because it's a despotic and dictatorial occupation of Gaza and the West Bank. You know, when people say, oh, why should we support Israel? They say, oh, it's the only democracy in the Middle East. That's a giant lie. I mean, what kind of a democracy is like, yeah, democracy for us, but we keep 5.5 million prisoners. And they have no rights at all. We can kill them at any time. And we control how much food they're allowed to eat. And when we want to, we starve them to death. By the way, 266 Gazans have already starved to death. 122 of them are children. So when you're starving people to death, you don't get to say it's unintentional. No, this is act of global terrorism, state terrorism, and a maniacal genocide. And at this point, anyone denying it is basically declaring, I don't think Palestinians are human. I think the Israelis are superior to the Palestinians, and we can murder them all we want. It doesn't matter. We'll just get our dogs in American media and in American politics to call them terrorists and to call us a democracy and a moral army. I'll give you two more examples from the story from great story from this Israeli outlets, Plus 972 magazine and The Guardian. So this is how the Israelis count. So they went and killed 200 areas. This is in their own documentation. 200 people, and they say they were all terrorists. Then an officer is like, only 10 of them were terrorists. The other 190 were civilians. We count them all as terrorists, okay? In another instance, 100 people killed. They say 100 of them were terrorists. An officer says only 2 of them were. The other 98 were civilians. But count them all as terrorists. And still you get to 83%. Okay, so yeah. No, if you're denying that it's intentional, you're purposely lying and you're aiding and abetting genocide. So that's where we are now. So if you raise your hand and say, I still support Israel doing this, you're a bit of a monster. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.